All right, we will call the meeting to order. Jen, would you take roll, please?
Commissioner Corbin.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Waldner.
Here.
Commissioner Thill.
Here.
Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under appearances, we have Dr. Quinn and Dr. Wang here, who are going to give us a presentation on the pavement management system. So I'll let you gentlemen begin.
Thank you, Mayor Lindsay, and thank you, dear commissioners and Chad and respected four concerned citizens, including the little one. It's great to be here. My name is Xiao Qin. I used to be Jack Rabbit. I was a professor at the South Dakota State 2 years ago, moved to University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, now associate professor at UWM. And with me is my colleague, Professor Wang from the Rutgers University. Can anyone tell me where Rutgers University is? I'm not trying to do hard questions. It's in New Jersey. Dr. Wang went to University of Illinois, UIUC, and he has some roots in the Midwest. So we teamed up and delivered this project with strong support from Chad and Fred, and all the help from other folks. So today I'm just going to give a final presentation about payment management system for Madison. This is, by the way, this is the fourth meeting of the day. We start 9 o'clock in the morning, and back to back, back to back. This is the last meeting of the day. Yeah, it's a great way to test my stamina. Praise God. All right. So just briefly, the introduction about the project team. By the way, if I block the view, let me know. And I'm a professor, so I'm very loud. If I'm too loud, let me know. And you can ask me any question anytime you want. I'm the project PI, principal investigator, and of course our project manager is Chad Combs. And Dr. Wang is the co-PI of this project and will help to support it by my grad student, Zhao Xiangber, and other people. So the objective of this project is to develop a new GIS, which is Geographic Information System database for managing cities' payment that is compatible and incorporable with cities' current GIS databases. Because we know the city already adopted GIS for the asset management called Public Works, so we can build on the success of that GIS database and utilize for other useful purposes, including the PMS, Pavement Management System. The second goal is to identify the feasible and implementable pavement maintenance and rehabilitation strategies. So we're looking for something that are very practical and can be applied right here in the city of Madison. The third one is to evaluate city's current pavement management strategies. And the fourth is to recommend financially responsible multi-year maintenance and rehabilitation plans. So we're not looking at just the current year, we're looking 5 years down the road. And the fifth is to facilitate payment management system implementation in here. And the last one is to provide training for city folks. So this diagram shows the changes of payment condition over time. So the X shows age of the payment, and the Y-axis shows the payment condition. And this red line represents the payment condition degrades over time. So it's get bad, it's get worse over time. And you can see that, the first 40% job in quality takes 75% of the design time for payment. And guess what? Next 40% quality takes only 12%. So clearly, the payment deterioration accelerates, once you approach to the end of your design life. So there are different strategies to repair and try to extend the life of payment. Either you can spend $2 right here at the very early of the payment life cycle, then continue to spend $2 so you can extend the payment life. Or you can wait till after maybe year 11, year 12, spend $4 for the treatment, and then you expect another rapid, reduction in its performance. Or you can even wait longer till years 13, 14, then it costs $12 to $16 to fix the payment. When you look at the cost, ratio from $2 to $6, all depends on when you're going to pull the trigger and make the investment for improvements. The question here is when, where, and how, right? So that is why we need a payment management system that tells us exactly when, and how. So what is a payment management system? It is a set of tools and methodologies that assist decision makers, people here, including you guys, in finding the best strategies for maintaining payment in a good condition over a certain time period. And what can a payment management system do for you? Well, an agency can use the system to evaluate a variety of the payment repair plans and to estimate their impacts on the future conditions and consider also under different budget levels. Because funding may change over time, constraints may be different. We want to be adaptive, we don't consider the consequences. Now the question is, what does a payment management system mean to you? Well, implementing such a system is becoming a more common and viable solution for local agencies to keep the good state of repair and support a livable community, right? Within what? Limited resources. So it's about saving money, preserving payment, and bettering quality of life. So I don't have to step back and is that no, I cannot. So how does a payment management system do to achieve all these goals? Well, it follows 3 steps. Actually, I often, compare, evaluating payment as a doctor evaluating a patient. So basically, we are like a payment doctors. The first thing is to establish a database. It's similar to the way that the doctor asks you medical history, the current medical conditions, right? So we establish a GIS map for the city, as you can tell, this is the street network for the city of Madison, and then we collect a bunch of information, the street inventory, the payment conditions, the work histories, etc. So we want to collect a lot of medical histories from that payment. Then the second step is we want to run some diagnosis, right? We want to evaluate your current condition. We want to listen to your heartbeat, check your pulse. We can measure your BMI, the body mass index, so we know how good you are. And also, we want to compare to other people so that we are able to predict your future conditions. So we can make some assumptions in the future, and towards the end, we can write some prescriptions for you. We can develop different maintenance and rehabilitation plans based on your issues. And here we're looking at payment, so we're looking for the different distress types, so the payment diseases, okay? And based on that, one thing we may ask you, what's your budget? What kind of Medicare plan, what insurance you have? You probably don't want out of the network doctors, so according to your budget, we'll set up goals, set up priorities, and we prioritize your treatment. So such a nice thing. Why not every single agent want it, right? That's a simple question. Why not everybody has it? Well, there are a lot of challenges for implementing a payment management system. Lack of resource to set up system. As you see, that involves the GIS, involves the computer work, the dearth of information. You probably don't have a lot of information, the history of the payment, and the traffic volume, all this kind of thing. Short staff, techniques, and knowledge. You need a manpower behind it to run analysis, right? Lack of funding for payment M&R, even though say, hey, yeah, we have the nicest plan in the world, we don't have money to do anything. You'll see on the wall, there's what? Highway Street, Sue, Cody, and Patchen Street. We want a good street. We want different strategies here. So all these point to, kind of formulate the challenges confronted by especially small and mid-sized communities. However, City Madison briefly embraced payment management system. Actually, they're ahead of curve and they did a great job. How did they do that? Because you have invested in the GIS and asset management already. And you have collected data and keep a good documentation of the history. And you have strong support from City Council and the citizens as well. And you allocate some special budget and funding for pavement repairs and the rehabilitation. And also you have very qualified staff here and with good knowledge of the pavement. So we started this project 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, let's say. And during the course, we run into some issues. But whenever you have a problem, you have a solution, right? So we overcome all the challenges, such as, there's no pavement thickness information. Then Chad helped to collect some historical work plans, and even recruit people to, do the quarrying, develop quarrying, and so we were able to measure the thickness. There's no pavement condition data, and we conducted a pavement survey 2 years ago in summer for the city. There's incomplete pavement age data, and then we figure out ways to, collect as much information as possible. For those we don't have information, we impute the pavement data, and et cetera, and et cetera. So during this survey, we observed several significant distress types. So those are the diseases with pavement. The most common distress types in pavement are, as picture shows on the right side, the longitudinal cracks, right here. And the rutting, as you can see, there's like tie trap, the rutting, the block crackings, the large block crackings, and alligate crackings. And those for the asphalt pavement, and due to a variety of different reasons, such as traffic loading, the temperature, and construction work, etc. Then for the concrete pavement, even though we don't have a whole lot of concrete pavement out there, but we did observe some, linear crackings and large patch utility cut. The good news is, overall, the pavement condition is good. Overall, it's good. So if you look at this pie chart, it shows the green part is really good. And we use, by the way, we use an index called Pavement Condition Index, PCI. So this index, just like your BMI for a person, the body mass index for a person, or your heart rate, that is a composite index that used to measure a variety of diseases based on the type, the extent, and the severity. Then it takes a weighted sum to get the average. So it's very comprehensive, very representative. And it ranges from 0 to 100. With 100, that's perfect. So when you have a brand new road, it's 100. The only time you want that degrade, the degradation gets down to below critical value, we call it 55. Once you go below 55, that raises a red flag, means, hey, we need to, the pavement needs to be repaired or should be looked at. The good news is almost 60% of pavement in the city can be considered as good. That's a great part. Then another 28% between points of 56 to 70 are kind of fair condition. Then we do have 13% in red. Those are poor. That means with a PCI value of 55 or less. And average PCI 66.5. That's all pretty good. Then after we conduct survey, we need to develop so-called prediction models so we can forecast the pavement condition in the future. In order to do so, we need to group pavement based on their characteristics into families. There are 5 different families according to the South Dakota DOT criteria. Those 4 depths, those are asphalt concrete pavement without granular base. They're thick, basically 5 to 10 inches, and they're thin, 2 to 5 inches. And there's asphalt concrete pavement on the Portland cement concrete pavement. Sorry, apologize for a lot of acronyms, but basically AC stands for asphalt concrete. PCC stands for Portland cement concrete. Two different pavements. Then the approach we use is to collect the data. Those are the payment survey information, and it built a regression model by age, so we know at what age then what your PCI will be. So it's very like how old you are, then what your BMI will be by the time, right? And this model is based on the boundary-based approach, which help to fill out all the outliers. Okay, so we set a boundary along the way. So once we have these prediction models, we're able to forecast the future conditions of payment, and then we can come up with different strategies under 4 general budgetary scenarios. The first one is do nothing. I'm not going to spend a dime, penny on payment. And the second is, what about the current budget? The third one is, what if I want to maintain the current PCI, the current payment performance? Right? The last one is, I want you to eliminate all the backlog. I want to get every single inch of the payment up to the high standard, good condition. So of course you can see the dollar value varies. Right. The initial analysis, the preliminary analysis shows, of course, do nothing, spend $0, and this is the current city budget provided by Chat. And if you want to maintain the current PCI, you probably need roughly around $1 million a year. And if you want to get every inch of payment up to high standard, you have perfect payment all over the place, you need almost $3 million a year. Well, this diagram just shows you the payment condition with different investment. So if you keep on investing to eliminate bad luck, the PCI, the payment condition index keep on rising up to, by the end of 2020, which is in the 5th year, above 80. So that's very good. The orange line pretty much stay flat, but that's what we're trying to do, is stabilize the current condition. And if we, with the current funding, which is the yellow line, it start to, degrade, but the degradation kind of slow down a little bit. If there's no funding, which is a green line, you will see that's kind of going down here. So far, those analysis, the graphs, the results, $1 million or $3 million a year for different strategies are based on a software application called MicroPaver. Okay, we just run the MicroPaver based on information we collect. And why we choose MicroPaver? First of all, this is developed by the Army Corps, U.S. Army Corps engineers in the late 70s, early 80s. So it's very well-known software. And it helps to optimize funding allocated for payment strategies, repair strategies, and utilize the PCI methodology, which is consistent with the index we chose, because the PCI is American standard. Okay, it's widely used, in the world. And this software is also continually funded and updated by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and more importantly, it is recommended and promoted by the American Public Works Association, and the City of Madison is also a member of APWA, American Public Works Association. We know that we can do more with less. We know that we can probably modify the recommendation by MicroPaver by adjusting to some strategies built into the MicroPaver. This is just a built-in workflow in MicroPaver in terms of how it prioritizes the strategies. But it may not apply to the City of Madison situation. And it may not comply to the different funding budget. And it may not fit very well with the goals we're looking for. So we respect these criteria. We understand how the numbers actually turn out to be, but we want to do a better job than just the default recommendation from the MicroPaver. So that's what we're going to do. Next slide. So we're looking at different strategies. The two large groups is basically preventive strategies and major repairs. You either be more preventive or be a little bit reactive but do the major repair. So the preventive include the localized preventive and the global preventive. Localized more like spot treatment. Okay? Globalized basically you do for the whole section, the whole street. And for the major projects, we face a situation, are we gonna treat the worst first or we can treat the best first? Because the major projects are those pavement sections that have a PCI score of 55 or fewer or less. Okay? Then based on that, we're gonna provide our candidate recommendations. Next slide, please. We take two things into consideration during our plan development because we need to respect the current city plan. This is the city current chip seal areas and schedule. The city is currently running the 7-year cycle. So basically every year they do 1/7 of the streets. So after the completion of 7-year cycle, all the streets will be chip sealed. That's current plan. And here the list is the pavement sections we recommend for major repair. And we recommend this list based on two criteria. The first one is a PCI less than or equal to 25. So you know the score is from 0 to 100, so 25 is a very low score. That means pavement is really bad situation, need to be repaired sooner. And also it has some structural distress. So what do you mean stress? Structural distress, it's like, okay, if you're patient, your problem is pretty severe, we need to perform some surgeries. And it's not cosmetic surgery, it's a serious surgery, to do the transplant, something like that. So structure distress is something, there's some structure failures, structure deficiencies, not just the surface. Okay, so that means more serious problems. And also we need to keep in mind the current city payment budget. We cannot blow the budget. So this is like 5-year budget, and there are different categories for the budget. Stopgap means we perform for this payment section less than 55. We're supposed to do major repairs, but if we don't have any funding, what we can do is to do the crack sealing and pothole patching. So the purpose is to stop you from bleeding to death. Okay, we patch you so you can stop you from bleeding, and we wait for time, we gain some time for the money to be placed so we can do the major. That is called stopgap. And currently $28,000 is signed every year to stop bleeding. The second is the global preventive, like chip seal. So around $126,000, and the increase to $153,000 in year 5. And major repairs, there's a $400,000 assigned in 2016. Then every 2 years, there's some major funding raised for the major projects. And in 2018, expected more than $500,000 will be available, and the end of in 2020 will be another $600,000 available in the major. So keep in mind the current city budget. Also respect the current city chip seal schedule, as well as a list of major projects we recommend. We look over the plans carefully, and we use the Michael Paver recommended plan as our benchmark. And we propose different, or called modified Michael Paver plans. There's the first general plan is a preferred chip seal schedule. The second is a preferred major projects. And the third one is a hybrid plan that considers both the chip seal and a major. So we run a lot of analysis. We end up developing a lot of plans, and we compare those plans based on two things. The first is, will you get a good PCI at the end of the day, at the end of the year 5? Or you're having the percentage of payment, smallest percentage of payment that has a poor situation, in the poor category. So we're looking for the plan that can recommend the highest PCI and the smallest poor areas of payment as the best plan. So we run through plan A, B, C, D, E, F, all the alphabet we can put in here. And we have some varieties for F2, as a variation of a plan F, then G2 as a variation of a plan G. Then we have the current city plans as our benchmark 1, and the default Michael Paver recommendation as benchmark number 2. When you quickly scan through the different plans from A to G, you can see basically we're deciding how many major projects we're gonna do each year. We're starting from no major, then gradually increase from 1 a year to 2 a year and more. Next. Then, as I said, we based on the high PCI and the low percentage of poor areas to select our best plan and go back one. Yep. Then we end up recommending plan F2 and plan G2. This just to give you, snapshot of the distribution of the, repairs each year, in the next 5 years. Color represents different treatment, either stopgap or preventive or major, etc. This is for plan F2. And the next one is plan G2. So with that, with this GIS map, you can visualize where, when, and what we're going to do to train our payment. Next slide, please. So basically the comparison, no plan is perfect. I have to put that up front. No plan is perfect. But we do recommend, we do want you think about the plan F2 and G2 because those two plans are most comprehensive, and that's a good combination of the majors and preventive strategies. The advantage of plan 2 is this is purely optimized. It's very, very highly optimized. That actually becomes relatively difficult to implement. So, but for plan G2, it's easy to implement because we stick to the city's chip sealing schedule, the 7-year cycle, as a preventive. But the consequence is we end up increase the budget a little bit, around $80,000 during a 5-year time period. So, in conclusion, we know that it is not realistic to, raise every payment to the highest standard, which will cost almost $2.9 million a year. And the current budget is just a small fraction of that, target. Well, under the current budget, we can customize the strategies to get a better return than the default plan recommended by the payment, Michael Paver. And we adopt the city's current chip sale as the primary global preventive strategies, and also our recommendation will repair the 17 worst payments first. And because of a small portion of the concrete payment, and because we really don't have any information about the age of the payment, so the prediction models for the concrete payment is not as reliable as asphalt. So in the future, we recommend to collect more information to enhance the prediction models for the concrete payment. And acknowledgement. This work is co-sponsored by the City of Madison and the North Dakota State University, the NPC, and also like to, of course, thank Checkouts for assistant and Fred and the folks who helped throughout the project. I'm open to any questions, if you have any.
Questions at all? Comments?
How do we pick 2020 to eliminate the backlog?
We developed the 5-year plan.
Okay.
So 2020 is the last year, of the 5th year, basically. We start project with 16.
Makes sense, thank you.
Maybe could I build on that too? Is
Yes.
there ability to stretch that out in micropaver?
Yes.
Okay, there is.
Yeah. But it really depends on how reliable your model, right? And currently, we perform the assessment, so we have some data points to fit a prediction curve. The more data points we have, the better curve we have, the more confidence we have for the future.
I would think it makes sense to kind of stretch that out. It took us a number of years to get in the position we're at. It's kind of aggressive to dig out of it in 5 years, but
Yeah, we're looking for another round of data collection in 2 years. At that time, we'll have more data points, so it'll make a lot of sense to
Right.
do the 10-year forecasting instead of just 5 years. Good question.
How much weight does the traffic count? How's that weighted in micropaper?
Excellent question. Well, we don't have traffic counts everywhere. That's a challenge, but we do know the traffic and weather plays significant role in the pavement deterioration. During the categorization of pavement family, we use a surrogate or proxy variable called the highway functional classification. So the higher functional classification represents high standard, high traffic, and of course the city street and the common streets is higher than the residential street. So we take that into consideration, not directly, but surrogate way. Thank you.
It's at least accounted for
Yeah.
to a certain level as best as you can, because Chad's probably too busy to sit there with a counter. Now, I just want to double check now with the GIS part, because Brad, I know you from the electrical department are doing some things on GIS. Chad does, Fred does, and it all comes together. And I'm just, kind of like what we're doing with the Highway 34 coming through town, taking care of everything underneath. If it's a major reconstruction of the road, and I'm assuming you're able to kind of match up some of your bigger projects that we have on the electrical side along with the pavement management side, and so I'm just making sure that kind of thing is
In
happening.
the water and sewer, and,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep, on the Fred side.
That's a good question. That's one thing I was gonna make a comment. We talked in several of our different meetings today, was that this is a great tool, for us to have and use, but we'll also have to mesh this with our other needs, issues with underground facilities many times, but then also other judgment issues, ADT and such like that. An example I used earlier today is 2 identical roads with the same PCI. Obviously, one is 2 or 3 times the amount of traffic. We're gonna target that one more
First.
if we're gonna get the same bang for our buck, so to speak, and making the improvements and improving our overall PCI. So again, these are all listed ignoring underground condition of underground
Right.
facilities, but that depends on budget. If we can have one of these projects that is recommended, and we also have sufficient budget to address the underground utilities if they're needed in that area, we'll have an independent analysis of that by talking with the public works staff and so on. We'll certainly go for that, but they all have to kind of be meshed together
Right.
in those ways as well.
And that was, as we talked earlier, in that why 5th and 7th Street, were chosen this year.
Yeah.
Is because the information that was available was the underground, and that was in much better condition, and in favorable condition to do just the street, and then not have to think, 6 months or a year from now having to tear up the street to fix something.
Right.
Another example of the flexibility that we'll incorporate into this, like we have with our IIP, is a project that wasn't on our IEP in previous years, but just was added this year, was Northeast Third Street. That doesn't happen to be one of the lists here, but that's another need. There's a high ADT. There's been some public feedback from that, and so that jumps up. That will correct and improve our PCI to a certain extent. So we'll continue to be flexible with this as well. We just want to have this tool so we're both planning for projects on a major project level and on the maintenance level in the best way we can, in a smart way, trying to optimize our investment among other things.
So it looks like with our current funding levels, the condition of our roads will continue to decline. How much more do we need to up the next 5 years, I guess?
Well, I guess I would submit that, that this is a good tool for you all to see what these estimates are. The other caveat I would say is, once we get some more data with another round of inspections, the more data points, the better, so we can confirm these curves are going in the direction or that they show here or not, but the more data, the better. So we'll just continue to plan to update this and use it going forward. The good news is it appears that with the first round of inspections and data we have, that we have a generally good condition throughout town as an average. But we want to confirm that, and if we need to recommend upping the funding levels or just maintaining them, it's really sort of gets to be a policy decision. What are we all comfortable with? What would we as staff recommend to the commission, and what can we quite honestly pay for? That's the other thing, part of this as well. So there's pros and cons to all those choices.
All right.
So
If you look at this particular page here, and that has the current budget and that we do for, the maintenance strategy and the stopgap, Fred at the earlier meeting and that said, that it has been budgeted at the $28,000 level. And based on the information that's here, that stopgap dollar isn't going to be able to jump up to the global preventative of 126, but he's hoping that in 2018 that $28,000 and that may be moved up, to a higher number, hopefully around the $70,000 mark. So that was one of the comments that
Well,
was
I was
made in a
looking at
previous meeting.
This pretty chart,
Mhm.
and I thought the backlog elimination was a little steep, but I'm a little distressed by our current funding level as it spirals down every year, so.
So it's nice to see the information, that we've gathered, put into a plan that helps us, budget.
It'll
better
absolutely help
budget
us
for
set
the
our
future.
priorities.
Yes, exactly.
Commissioner Corbin, if I may too, I think that, I commend you that perceptive, that we didn't really know where we
Right.
were at before
Right.
we did this study.
Right.
And this sort of, doesn't sort of, but this does give us a snapshot. It shows where we're at, confirmed, I personally thought our roads were not too bad, but some, depending on if you hit the hot pothole that day, might not have seemed that good, And so, this at least gives us some data, a snapshot in time, and we continue to track that going forward, and we can see what the ramifications of our choices of funding are over time.
Right.
If we aren't able to stand that, fund it, et cetera, and we see them going down, well, that's the result. But if we feel that it's necessary to raise that PCI to, that's a demand or a desire of the taxpayers, and then we push to move that up, and we try to raise that PCI. We just want to use this, and we have a good foundation, if you will, going forward. That's kind of how I look at it.
Guys, we want to add, this is kind of like a general budgetary scenarios. It doesn't factor into all the customization we're building later on. So, but it does provide you a snapshot of, what the trend is going to be. If you have backlog elimination versus doing nothing, you can see huge difference. And as Chad said, we'll continue to monitor the performance of payment, continue to calibrate, continue to get better understanding of the trend over time, then come up with more accurate plans for the future improvements.
Yeah, as a complement for that too. So that figure basically is analysis results based on default micropaper strategy. So that's why later on we did some customization. So actually with the new customization, I believe for the current budget, we're still seeing PCI reducing, but a much slower trend.
Good.
So basically, that's kind of one of the big effort we spent. We're not just kind of click the button and let micropaper run, get results. Basically, through the discussion with Chad, based on the city's current practice, based on our understanding on the payment, so we kind of fine-tuned or massaged the revenue strategy. So with a certain budget, we come out with optimized plan. So that kind of makes sure, even with the current budget, we kind of retard the deterioration trend, which actually I believe that one shows in 5 years reduced to 62 or 63. I think with customized, we can maintain at 64 or 65.
Don't look at
Current
it,
budget.
don't look at just maybe a couple points improvement,
Yeah.
but think about
big-
all the payment, all the sections, there's more than 600 sections in City of Madison, the 53 miles of road. So a few points improvement is huge.
Did you go from intersection to intersection for the sections of road? Just,
The same GS map as the Public Works.
okay.
I have a question. Are you a firm believer in just chip sealing or chip and fog sealing? Or do you just recommend doing fog sealing like some of the cities now are starting to go to?
For the question to Dr. Wang.
Okay. In my opinion, if really we want to solve some aging issue, so surface cracking, fog seal may be okay. But in terms of the extending the service life, personally, I believe chip seal performs a little bit better. There is a national database, if you have heard about it, called LTPP, long-term payment performance database, which are established by Federal Highway. There are 2,000 sections in the country. It was selected in the 1990s, and then these sections were continuously monitored over 15 years. And then the report come out, the average payment life extension for fog seal, probably like 0 to 2 years, but the chip seal may go to 2 to 4 years. So statistically, it's better, but I cannot compare exactly two sections, see which one is definitely better than another. But statistically, it's better. Actually, I was talking with Chad. One thing people are trying now is chip seal plus fog seal, which is more like sandwich seal. Some states are using that and it claims better performance. So I was talking with Chad, maybe we
Maybe
can
around a section
look at
of
some
experiment.
possible new inventions coming from industry and have a try out at medicine for certain mileage.
And we actually did that, not this last year, around 2016 and 2015. We tried a little bit of that, and we've been trying to tweak the chip sealing process to become most cost effective in the last couple of years. Traffic control in an urban section it was very much a challenge on the fog seal part, and so so.
You know, and the other thing about that too, you know, is now we have some knowledge of what the base is. And the base has a lot of effect on what the pavement does too, if the ground shifts. And so, you know, knowing which roads and that have the poorer base underneath them gives us a better idea of, well, do we chip seal, do we fog seal, or do we tear it up like we did 5th and 7th and put it back together so it's going to last longer. And so having all the information, and that just helps the commission and the people that work for the city make better decisions on how to maintain the roads at the cheapest possible cost.
I want to make a comment. Thanks to both of you and also to your grad students and everybody. I know you had a lot of students that were working on it. Chad has done a great job on this. I'm not a huge fan of some surveys and studies, but this one's got real data and real information. It was one of the reasons I supported it to kind of get, like we talked a little bit earlier, get some more data points. And I mean, and it's important for the public to also know and understand that you know, some of our not so old roads, you know, it was basically just pavement right over the top. Some of them, they didn't even put gravel down, they just rolled out on pavement, and you can't see that unless you do the core samples, and so I think your students and some of your workers did a great job on that, and I'm looking forward to this is to be really something that we can take, and it's a starting point for us to plan out into the future, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Other comments? Questions?
Thank you, good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us here.
Okay. And so, other appearances, Tammy Miller and Brad Wilkins, I haven't seen them.
Sitting right outside.
Oh, they're sitting outside? Okay.
Up, come in.
Oh, there they are, very good.
Patiently waiting for us.
You could
Okay.
have come in and listened to the,
I was beginning to thinking that we'd
Brad?
have to ad lib.
Tammy's out talking with David.
Nope, sounds great, sounds great. Well, I was gonna say, is anybody
could
would
have
take
listened
a?
in. Okay.
Yeah? We'll give them another minute here.
Reshuffle, reset.
Yes, reset.
You want us up there?
Please, because it is recorded from at home, and people like to be able to hear, and so you need to be close to the mic in that in order for that to occur. So when they were giving a presentation and he's moving around, it's a little more difficult, you know, but they, from the camera angle, don't see the screen either. So in that particular case, they're going to rely heavily on
Right, Jen?
both our radio and our newspaper
Coordinated
and that
today.
for information presented. So, but it was a very good presentation, and you know, from the seat that I'm sitting in, and that since this started, we've really learned a lot about our streets in town. And so on this one here, I think it was money well spent.
Jen, you want to grab Tammy?
I understand he's out there with David.
He can come too.
Yeah.
We'll let him. They are the pavement doctors.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting, I thought, too.
Maybe I missed my college, I got a
Yeah.
doctorate. Pavement,
You could be the water doctor.
there's some of them out there.
All right. We have Tammy Miller and Brad Wilkins and that, and go ahead and begin.
Okay, well, as you probably received the letter that was attached with the agenda, the hospital system itself would like to request, after having been to the county commission, we would like to come to the city and request that the city install streetlights along Southwest 10th Street, which is basically right out in front of the hospital. It is, the hospital property or that development is annexed in. Union Avenue, which is on the west side of the hospital, is a city street. And then property across the street from the hospital is city property as well. We've had numerous people who have talked to us about concerns of how difficult it is to see out there after dark along the street, not necessarily on our property or on Union Avenue, but as you come to Southwest 10th Street. We believe that it is a safety issue, and there's a lot of people that seek our services or leave after, either under duress or after they've received some tough news. And as I had mentioned to the county, I know that it is a county road, and I know that there needs to be some things worked out but we believe that it is very much a safety issue and that there should be streetlights along that stretch of highway.
Tammy, how many employees does the hospital have?
We have, we're just under 250 employees right now.
Okay. And,
That's total employees, that's not FTEs, that's total employees.
okay. And then it's how many bed hospital?
22.
Okay. And it's my understanding at this point in time that it's gotten more than 22 in occupancy, because I've heard people say that it's, that you are full plus capacity.
Well, that might be a little bit of just a rumor, but
Okay.
We have been at capacity. We can't exceed our license, and
Okay.
so we've been busy. I think a better indication of our concern is the fact that 500 people are through our doors every day, whether it is staff, whether it's patients, whether it's visitors, whoever. We're averaging about 500 people into our facility every day. That's a lot of people to come. And granted, not all of those people either come to the facility or leave after dark. But as we go into the winter and we know that it starts getting dark about 4:30 in the afternoon and it's dark until.
So it's not even 6:30, it's almost dark
Right,
already,
and
so.
we know that in our climate, that's what we face, and so there's a longer period of time after dark.
Because you guys are open 24/7?
Right.
Just to try to give the commission a little legal background here, this is going to take the cooperation of the city and the county. And I understand that these folks have already been to the county, and I think they got tossed back here. And the last thing that, I want to do is now ask them to go back to see the county. But while the city certainly has some latitude here and some discretion here on what they want to do, are they going to provide equipment, are they going to provide labor, all of those things that is discretionary to the city. One thing that's not discretionary to the city is that there's a specific state law that says any road, county road in the county road system, all of the plans, specifications, and surveys must, not can or may, but shall be completed by the county highway superintendent. So when I say that these two entities, meaning you and the county, need to work together, while there are certain things you could provide and do, the county needs to meet us some part of the way and provide some surveys, plans, specifications for the street lighting. Now, you might say, well, my gosh, that's annexed in, and we've got city on both sides of that road. That's all true. But the fact is, it's a county highway, and it's in the county highway system on file in Pierre. So they're going to have to provide some of the specifications and surveys and standards by which any work we would do. So I want to be clear, you have some latitude, you can do some things, but this starts with approved plans by the county. We can execute a lot of that if you choose to do so. We can provide a lot of material, equipment, labor if you so choose, but the initial plans have to meet and be approved by the county. That law is 31-12-9, if you'd like to look at it yourself, but I just want to provide that. So whatever is discussed here tonight, or maybe even decided, is going to take some initial assistance by the county to work in conjunction with us. So I can answer any questions. I have to apologize. I need to leave by 6:30. So if there's any questions that you have, I want to answer them now.
I'll speak fast. Tammy and myself, and that spoke before the county, Brad and Jeremiah, when that were there. The question that we asked was, would they share in the cost of the materials and that to put the lighting in? And the answer was, is they're not in the lighting business and that, and they weren't interested in doing that, but they would give permission in that for the city to put the lights in that, and as you described, they would work with the city in that, in establishing, putting it there. Didn't say that they'd help pay for it in that, but it said that they would, that they would work so that the city could put the lighting in. I've had a number of people contact me in that, and point out things in that, like, the city gets the electric revenue. The city annexed the land in and took that property tax away from the county. The city gets the water revenue. They get the sewer revenue. The city gets the sales tax from the employees and that buy things in Madison. So this is coming from the county commissioners that have spoken to me, and they don't see where they are gaining anything because the city has put the hospital out there.
All of which may be true and all may be great reasons to do some
Understood.
lighting. Just as long as you understand that this is gonna require some joint cooperation from the county
Right.
to approve and make designs and standards according to the State Highway Commission. As long as we're clear on that, whatever you choose to do or not do, in terms of the city attorney, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right.
What I care about is that you know that the county does have a role in this. It may be minor, but it is an initial role, and it's an important role. And that's approving surveys, plans, and specs to put this stuff in, to do it.
Can we have, just my last legal question before you roll,
Yeah.
can we have a joint commission meeting, city commission meeting, and county commission meeting to discuss this one topic?
You always can do
You
that.
can,
It
you
requires
can.
joint publication on both sides.
Yes.
You've got to give notice and publication, but state law allows for the two commission meetings to hold a joint public meeting.
Because obviously there's a much bigger issue that's the elephant in the room is, and we've talked about this road for many years as far as who owns it. We've had great handshake relationships with the county as far as we'll plow this side, you plow that side, and Fred's got it worked out and kind of knows and understands all of it. And I just think that, we need to definitely have a plan in place, and we can't make that plan. We need to work with the county to do this. We've done.
That's right, Mike. That's the
Ton-
portion
Right.
that I want people to
Okay.
understand. It's that planning phase that the county, under the law, must be involved. And, the words general direction are used. They need to survey and prepare plans, specifications, those sorts of
Yeah,
things. They
yeah.
have to be involved in that under the law.
Make sure we got the right lights out there, not just a little bitty lamp. It needs to be well lit.
Is
And
that true
so,
along all of the bypass then?
Well, I
Well-
don't think all.
Well, the bypass-
bypasses-
The bypass is a whole different ballgame in my eyes here, and also from the people that I visited with. The lighting and that is something that can be accomplished. The question is who's going to pay for it. The county has been specific that, hey, they will support us and do what they need to and sign on the line as long as we pick up the tab.
I've had some nice conversations with the county commissioners recently, and I think we can, it's important to the community members that we work together and have a
It is.
relationship, and I think we can come up with an agreement with the county that'll work.
I agree.
I'm not
I
going
do
to
too.
throw out any numbers, say, nobody's paying this or that.
Right.
But I think we can come to an agreement, which might roll into a larger agreement on the bypass, or might be a part of it, but the bottom line is we need to communicate as commissions, work together. There's an expectation of the community that we do that, and we ought to.
So, and then, things in that the city asked the hospital to do and that, when they were building, is to upsize the water lines and sewer lines that went down Union Avenue. So the hospital has contributed, things in that the city
Thank
has
you, David.
asked for as well. Thanks, David, in the past. So, but it's already getting into fall, with that many people coming and going and that, it's something that we need to address and address soon. Not something that we want to put off into later 2017 or 2018. It's something that we need to work on now and find out, when's the best time that we can get it in, and even if possible, get it in before the frost is done this winter. So,
I think it's obvious. It's a no-brainer. It's, from my chair and the public safety commissioner, it's without a doubt we got to get lights in there. Not just people driving, but also people walking and things as well that, that come out there. And I know that we've had a committee that was supposed to be together discussing that road, but I just know I wasn't on it, so I don't know what's going on with it. Maybe it's defunct. I don't know. Jen, maybe you know, and at this point it doesn't matter. I think tonight, the biggest thing is, we need to figure out when we can meet with the county, and if we want to discuss just the lighting, then let's discuss just the lighting. But I think ultimately, it is part of a bigger picture of that road,
It
but I
is.
don't want the bigger picture of that road to delay putting up lights, because we need
That's,
to get
that's where
lights
I'm at. I
put
would
up
rather
and-
prefer, I would prefer
But I
to
think
do
we
what
can do
we need
both.
for lighting.
But
And because I've been on that committee and it's not defunct. And the other thing that's coming up is that we have the election coming up the 8th.
Yep.
We have people who aren't going to have their feet on the ground yet. So it would be something that I would like to meet with the current commission that's been involved with this before they leave. So
Well, they
that
won't
doesn't
leave
give us
till
much
after
time.
the January 1st, because they don't get sworn in till after January 1st, so
Okay.
we.
Yep.
But
So
as far as the maintenance of that highway, it's always been the city taking care of it from the Pizza Ranch down to Gale.
Gale.
And then the county
Picks
takes
it up.
care of it round from Gale over to Prostello's. That's been that way since '73 when I started. Do you guys leave your lights on in your parking lot at night, all night long?
Can't
You know, that could help for a time being.
It doesn't.
Well, it doesn't shed any light on the highway at all. That's the issue. If there's, shed light on the road and that, then we wouldn't be here. But the other thing is that from the information I've gathered, the city put in the lights coming down Highland to Gale. And there are lights that go from Gale around, but those are security lights for the house that's there, for Goths and that, for the next house and that. They're not city lights, but they do shed some light on the highway. But out on Highland and that, the city did see the need when that area developed out there to put the lights on, and that's what I'm hoping that we'll see the need down here, and work with the county. The county said they'd work with us, they just said they wouldn't put any money in it.
Mayor,
Yes,
I'd like to echo your sentiment about the timeliness of this. We need to be moving forward quickly.
We do.
So We're going into the winter season, and
Mhm.
that limits our time to be able to execute, put in the construction of these lights.
we also have a new street that just got blacktopped, I don't even know if it's named yet.
Yes,
Does it have a name?
yes, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
You don't know it off the top of your head? This just east of what used to be Doug's Auto and that development, and that is out of the reach of the lights that are on Union. So that also is going to be a dark corner when the 14 units open in January. And that's their plan, is to open those in January. So we'll have residents that'll be looking for that street to turn north, before winter's over. So,
And may I also just emphasize that in many other parts of the town, people are driving it without the stress that some medical conditions will,
yes.
have. And so you have people that are maybe not impaired, but are stressed for a variety of different reasons. And they're running down a dark street to get to the hospital. It's a safety.
Tim?
I could as well. I think that as you have those discussions, certainly the lights are our prime concern. But I do think that you need to keep in mind a number of other safety things that might come on as to potentially snow routes, emergency routes. Right now, I think that that's a bit of a challenge along Southwest 10th Street, the lighting. So as you have those discussions, I would encourage you to include a number of those things, maintenance, the turning lanes, the snow routes,
South Union's a snow route, correct? All the way
It
to
is
the
now.
hospital.
Southwest 10th is not, and so if you're coming in from the east side or you're living on the west side, getting to the facility could be a challenge.
And that is
Agreed.
something that has been addressed by our highway and county as well. The county typically does not go out till 5 in the morning. Our crews go out at 2 in the morning, typically. The part of the issue in that of the city and the bypass is the bypass is wide, does not have curb and gutter on it, and so you need a wing to really move the snow off into the ditch, where we take care of it differently and that coming down Highland. And so they are in discussion and have been talking about that if we have a crew that goes out at 2 in the morning, if they make the first pass and that, put it onto the shoulder, then the county will come along with the wing and knock it off the shoulder. So they have been discussing those issues.
I
Well, thank you
think
for
the-
bringing this to light. We'll
Yes.
continue to work with the county and see what we can get done.
I
So-
think the Madison Hospital and the town can be, and community all the way around, county and city can be very thankful that they got a good facility like that.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for your consideration.
Okay, do we have any motions at all, or are we taking it under consideration in that, and then we'll move forward, see what we can set up with the county?
I just, I
Very
don't think
good.
there's a place for a motion right now.
No, there isn't,
No.
no.
I'm sensitive
Unless
to the
someone
fact
wanted
that-
to-
Of this concern. A year ago, almost now, I had somebody, a swing bid there, family member, and coming home at night, later in the evening, 10, 11 o'clock, it was phenomenally dark coming off.
Yeah, I mean,
Parking
we've
lot
been
onto Union.
hearing this
I brought
from-
that,
yeah.
I've discussed that before, so. I know that some of the commissioners have done some things. I know Jeremiah discussed it with me, some preliminary groundwork with the county and those things. And we're also very sensitive to the fact that this is a time-sensitive issue. You know, to say, well, hopefully we can get to it, as Roy said, in 17, doesn't serve the need very well, especially when it's a safety need. So I think at this point, the best we can say is we're sensitive to it, we'd like to see it resolved too. We have to look at budgetary concerns, how we can make this work. Okay, so I just don't want you to walk away thinking we said, because there was no motion, nothing's gonna happen. Okay? I think we need to take it to the next level of concern with the county as quickly as possible. And I think they'll enter the discussions with us with no trouble about that. But the other concerns are the kinds of things we need to consider budgetarily and project-wise, so. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anything anyone would like to remove from the consent calendar?
Motion approved consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no old business, no new business, under announcements. And that, today in the mail, and that, I opened an envelope with a check for $25,000 in there from the Jerome Norgren estate, and that as payment toward the animal shelter. And so one of the things in that I'd ask the news media is here in a couple weeks in that, when we are opening the animal shelter, if you would then do, a story on it, along with recognition to Mr. Norgren and the other people who have donated to it besides what the city put in. So those are the announcements that I have. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.